I've been seeing a consistent pattern in my practice lately. Many of my clients are saying they're struggling with focus, with their memory, and just in general with mental clarity. And it isn't just related to the fact that there's a lot of distractions in our world today. This is what I discussed in the first part of our series on focus, when in my previous video, I highlighted that it's rarely just one thing. We talked about a combination of factors that could contribute to focus issues, such as stress physiology, sleep disruption, hormonal shifts, gut brain signaling, and overall nervous system load due to a buildup over time of physiological imbalances. But it's usually these combination of factors that make someone say, I can't focus like I used to. And again, it's how we support all of the systems in a comprehensive, holistic way that really matters. So today, I want to continue with this conversation for part two. We're going to talk about focus and how one of my favorite modalities, essential oils, can support attention and enhance cognitive health in a very holistic way. Specifically, I'm going to review with you 5 of my favorite essential oils that I use in practice for my clients that are struggling with their focus and dealing with cognitive performance issues and memory problems. We'll be exploring this through the actions of essential oils through the lens of a brain body physiology approach and psychoaromatherapy. So that's a big word, but what it basically means is how essential oils impact our emotions and our mental health. Now, for those of you who are new, hello, I'm Dr. Sarah Lobisco, and I am a naturopathic and functional medicine practitioner with over 20 years in clinical experience. I specialize in brain health, gut health, and women's health. And a big part of my work is helping people understand what's actually driving symptoms like brain fog, fatigue, and difficulty focusing at a root level. So before we get into the specific oils, I want to kind of zoom out for a moment and connect what we talked about in part one. Now, of course, if you missed that, there will be links in the description to this video. But just to broaden the lens here, we talked about some of the main drivers that interfere with focus and cognition. We talked about things like stress and overwhelm. We talked about sleep problems. We talked about hormonal changes and how that links to neurotransmitters in the brain. We talked about gut brain imbalances. We talked about nourishing your brain with the right nutrients and movement. We talked about medication and toxicity and even brain health imbalances like ADHD and ADD. Now, all of these factors influence how effectively the brain can generate and sustain attention on top of already a distracted world and all of the technology. This can be a lot for the nervous system to handle. So when focus starts to feel inconsistent or effortful, that's because of all the physiological impacts that are potentially on the brain and the body. Now, with that in mind, essential oils are a fascinating way that I've seen clinically to really help support this brain body overwhelm. They guide the brain and body toward better focus because they impact many of these underlying drivers of focus issues. They interact through our olfactory system, our sense of smell actually is directly linked to our limbic pathways in the brain, and this impacts our stress, our mood, and our memory. And they also help to shift some of the underlying physiological and neurochemical patterns, like hormone imbalances, inflammation, sleep issues that can influence our ability to stay alert, to help our mood, and to stay clear cognitively. So, now with that overview of the broad look of how essential oils support overall focus and mental clarity, let's talk about some of my favorites. The first one I think of is peppermint. Now, peppermint is one of the most well-known because it's so invigorating, just the scent. Clinically, it's associated with more wakefulness and improved cognitive performance during mental fatigue. It's actually one of my go-to oils that I was first introduced to, and it's one of the ones that I used while I was studying for my exams in naturopathic medical school. But when I see in practice is that peppermint actually can kind of help people neurologically reset from their gut and their brain, because peppermint is really well studied for helping to relieve symptoms of IBS. So you have this gut brain connection as well. So that is the first oil, peppermint. Now, the second oil I think of, especially for memory and cognitive function, is rosemary oil, specifically the one that's high in 1,8-cenol, which is more stimulating. But because it's more stimulating, you just have to be careful if you also have high blood pressure and memory issues if you use rosemary. But specific studies have explored its relationship with attention, with recall, and mental performance. So when someone's feeling more scattered and overwhelmed or overloaded, or they're just having maybe some inflammatory brain issues, I will think of rosemary for them. Now, the third oil actually has its namesake for memory, and that's called sage. And sage has been traditionally used for that as well as cognitive support. And modern research continues to validate its effects for attention and for recall. What stands out to me with sage is how it can be really helpful for people who are more fatigued and also mentally needing more clarity and memory support. It seems to help both retrieval of information as well as mental sharpness at the same time. It's again one of the most researched oils for memory specifically, so it often goes well with rosemary and it often is a great booster to peppermint as well. The fourth oil behind this is jasmine, and jasmine is unique essential oil because it works on how the brain functions. So, research has shown in a small trial that it can influence brain activity patterns associated with alertness and well-being. It appears to support this calm, focused pattern. In how I've seen it translate in my practice, is it to be helpful when there are people that are having a hard time kind of calming down the brain and they need that clear focus and also dealing with a lot of emotional overwhelm. I kind of think of jasmine for that. It brings this softer kind of focus and it's more about being regulated than driven and stimulated. And then the fifth oil is kind of a group of oils. There are citrus oils. So we think of lemon, grapefruit, orange, whatever your favorite is, lime. And these are often associated with mood elevation as well as mental refreshment. They tend to support motivation, emotional tone, and sustained attention. There's various studies using citrus oils to help with calming down the nervous system and anxiety. So if that's part of the issue with focus, then citrus oils can be super beneficial for that. I actually love citrus oils for when I want to feel more upbeat and when I also might be a little anxious when I'm preparing projects or doing presentations. I can mix that with peppermint or rosemary or sage, and that's super helpful for memory as well as focus and work. So I often suggest to my clients to diffuse it when they're working on a project or when their kids are doing their homework. It's really friendly for kids. Citrus oils are. So, to summarize with these oils, each of them supports cognition in a little bit of a different way, which we can personalize. So, we think about peppermint for alertness, and especially if there's nervousness in the belly. We think of rosemary for organization and recall. We think of sage for memory and clarity, jasmine for calm alertness and changing those brainwave patterns, and citrus oils for mood, for motivation, for focus, and just for kind of calming and uplifting the mind and the body. What's important is that essential oils work synergistically. It's not an isolated effect just on the brain. They interact with the nervous system and our physiology as a whole. We've seen things like peppermint for gut health, rosemary can be helpful for inflammation, jasmine for balancing the mood and the stress response, sage for microbial imbalance, citrus oils for its immune enhancing properties and resiliency, and that D-limonene content, which is beneficial for many things, including digestion as well. So, when we kind of summarize and bring all of these pieces together, if you're struggling with focus or with brain fog, it's not just about trying harder for the brain. We have to look at some of the underlying physiology that is off balance, that's impacting your nervous system overload and affecting your brain. We need to look at things like your stress response, sleep disruption, hormonal shifts, gut-brain signaling, and other physiological issues. We know that certain essential oils can support the brain toward clarity and alertness. Just to review those again, we have peppermint, we have rosemary, we have sage, we have jasmine, and we have citrus oils, which all support the brain and focus in a very unique and distinct way. There are also holistic modalities that support the brain as they balance our biology and emotions so clarity can become more available again. So it's important to remember that individual responses will vary because there's a lot of constituents in an essential oil, just one drop, and there's a lot of variation in our biochemistry. So you have to find what works best for you. And also remember about safety when you're using essential oil, the quality of the essential oil. I go over more of the minute details in the article that accompanies this video. So you can find that in the link in the video description or in the comment section. And you can access that fully referenced article there. If the information I'm sharing resonates with you, I invite you to stay connected to me and my channel. You can follow me for more integrative brain health education that's rooted in clinical experience as a naturopathic and functional medicine doctor that's been using essential oils as well as other holistic modalities for years successfully in my practice. You can subscribe to this channel as well as to my newsletter so you don't miss upcoming episodes and articles and different opportunities to join me for some trainings. If you are interested in that, I have an upcoming brain health reset program with a co-presenter that's another expert in clinical aromatherapy, and it's designed to help address specifically focus, cognitive, mood, and nervous system imbalances and actually help increase your intuition at the same time. So you can find all of the details in the description as well as in the caption. I want to thank you for listening and let you know that your support means more than you know. You are appreciated. Keep empowering yourself and your health, and I will see you in the next video.